Pamela Anderson has been very public about her dedication to aging gracefully and naturally in the public eye. She has gone makeup free for years now, except for very rare occasions. And at a recent film festival, she did an interview about this and her new conception of what it means to be beautiful. And it received a lot of attention. Some of it was negative. So let's take a look at this video first.
Which one? Is it this one here?
From Alpha Fox.
Okay, here we go.
Having famously opted against wearing makeup in recent years, how did it feel to put it back on for this film?
Oh, for the film?
Yeah.
I mean, I love to wear makeup too sometimes. It's just a time and a place. I just feel in my personal life it just didn't really make sense.
What's your definition of beauty these days?
Being brave and living your dreams. It's never too late to never give up.
She's holding space for that comment because that doesn't make any sense either.
Hey, did you know it's never too late to never give up?
That
Brett?
has nothing to do with beauty.
It's never too late to never give up.
I hate these people. I hate these people because they can't say what they mean.
Beauty is when you live your dreams.
Ugh.
You know, she's not the brightest knife in the drawer, but she has the spirit.
She did make barbed wire, so.
She has the spirit, for sure. She seems like such a pleasant, warm person, though. And obviously, Pamela Anderson is not the sex symbol that she used to be at 57 years old. That is not a surprise to anyone, including her. And she is, you know, Pamela Anderson is not out here saying with a megaphone, hey, everybody, I'm just as hot as I was when I was 25.
Correct.
She is not making statements like that. But for some reason, responses like this rolled in. Myron Gaines tweeted, "The wall is un-effing defeated. Women truly do age like milk, especially white blondes. Ladies, get married and have children before it's too late. This woman was an icon in the 1980s and 1990s Baywatch." And he posted this before and after photo from her in her heyday to her now as a woman in her late 50s. No one is surprised that people get less hot when they age. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not a surprise to anyone, most especially her. Yeah, having been worldly, like, having been actually a world-renowned symbol of beauty and sexuality, I don't think she is surprised that she isn't as hot as she used to be.
She doesn't seem to be, like you said, blasting the megaphone, talking about how, oh, in reality, we're all just the same and you're all just as attractive in your 60s as you are in your 20s. She's not doing that. No. So I don't really think of this as much of anything.
Like, where does this kind of wrath come from?
What do you
know?
Like, from him? Or from...
Right. Like
I don't know.
I also just, I want to understand how this is convincing anyone to do anything. He's saying in this post that you should get married and have children before it's too late. Pamela Anderson did that. Mm-hmm. So what's the lesson to be learned here? If you age like milk and then become...
I think there's just something to be made out of the discussion that whenever she is in the news, this does come up. So,
right, and it's weird. Like, why her specifically?
Well, I mean, because she very blatantly goes out without the makeup, and whether she admits it or not, she knows that it will be a form of discussion that comes up. Like, whether she actually desires that conversation to happen or not, I can't say. I can't know for sure, right? But it has become a huge part of her brand right now. She has rebranded to this type of social influencer that is no longer just about physical beauty, but is about acceptance, self-acceptance and stuff like that. So in a way, I think that even whatever your market is, whether you're Myron Gaines, whether you're a red pill dude, or whether you're a feminist, you're going to take the story and you're going to talk about it within your value system. And what you're seeing here is his response to her turning from one marketing scheme, which is physical beauty and being a sex symbol, to another. Again, whether she desires this or not, this is what has happened. And that's just the point of contention.
She represented one thing, now she represents
another.
a different thing.
I don't think it's a huge deal, to be completely honest. I think that
I guess
his
some
take
people
is,
are just saying that it's contradictory, and I don't see where the contradiction is.
Oh, he's saying she's being contradictory. I mean...
So here's the thing. The message of this post...
I mean, I didn't see him say anything about her being contradictory, but
the implication is that there's a contradiction between her being hot then and her not being hot now. And the message behind the post is... Yeah, she does. She looks incredible for 57, actually. I would kill to look as good as Pamela Anderson when I'm at that age. But it's weird to me that the message behind this post is like, ladies, you're inevitably on the track to being valueless if you lose your physical attractiveness. But you should get married and have children before that happens. And then what? Like, then you're just promised that no one's going to see any worth in you as innately anyway. So why would you bother trying to get married if the man that you marry would see you as, like, this is only if you take them at their word, right? Yeah. If the man you marry sees you as valueless because you're not hot anymore anyway. Well, what would be the use in that?
The logic used to be, right, that she gives you her best years, of beauty and children, and he protects you and takes care of you once you leave those best years and are aging. And that was a discussion to be had in a time when women didn't have careers and didn't have lives of their own. The contrary statement here is more about a life built off that beauty and then selling it down to people who aren't doing that, right? So saying to a woman who's working at a marketing department to get married now because she's not going to be beautiful in 10 years is different than saying it to somebody who's a model now and saying in 10 years you're not going to be beautiful anymore, therefore society won't value you anymore. It's just I think that this discussion is actually probably too specific and layered to actually have it in just a few minutes. Like, you'd have to take specific examples, but it all ends up getting tied in together. I don't think it's that serious. I think that she has moved on to this new way of marketing herself. Again, she's acting more than she did years ago, right? She's a commodity again now, much like Jennifer Coolidge became a commodity in her later years at the perfect time in Hollywood, because they love to talk about age. Like, we did a story on Friday that was talking about, it was another one of these diversity reports from the Gina Davis Institute, which is an actual thing. And it was talking about like the roles and, which demographics are getting these roles. And one of them, it was about the age demographic of roles going to women over a certain age. I'm like, are you kidding me? Michelle Yeoh never stops working. She's literally probably filming a movie right this second. And there's a lot of work in Hollywood now for women that are not just in their 20s like it used to be. So maybe for the average person, maybe not for like what this discussion is that it rings as disingenuous because society, especially Western society, feminist society, has worked very hard to break down barriers amongst all of these things, that when they're still talking about it, it comes across as disingenuous. It's like, look, we've been doing this for like 20 years now. We've been confronting stereotypes and confronting misconceptions about this, and that for ages, and everyone's just kind of sick of it.
You can only break so many glass ceilings.
Exactly.
After all. Yeah, I agree. I mean, one last thing on the whole red pill message behind, Pamela Anderson hitting the wall. It really rings disingenuous to me because you're selling completely discordant messages to both men and women, because you're screaming at the women that you better get married and have children, but then what you're telling the men, on the other hand, is don't, for the love of God, ever get married or have children because you can't trust women. So what exactly happens if people believe you? Yeah. Then everyone is effed. If the people that were reached by this message took him at his word and took his advice, none of the men would get married and none of the women would get married.
Yeah.
Or the opposite would happen. I guess the women, how do we work through this? You're telling all the men that they should never get married, but you're also telling the women that they need to get married or else they're worth nothing.
It doesn't follow.
It doesn't work. It doesn't follow up to a conclusion. But I think what Pamela Anderson is doing is great, actually, because...
Oh, I don't know about that.
No, I do.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's tired. And
I think she's not very smart. But what she's doing is great because it's going against the grain of what we normally see in Hollywood.
Meaning that she's not over the top about it?
No, I mean, she's going against the grain of what we normally see from women in Hollywood when they get older.
Oh, because she's accepting that she's aging rather than trying to stay younger. Trying to be forever young.
Yes, what we normally see from women getting older in Hollywood is an example like Madonna, who makes herself into a walking monstrosity by getting extreme fillers and Botox and plastic surgery and piling on the makeup and the hair extensions, etc., the fake eyelashes. And it all gets to a point where, you know, you would be much better off just accepting the fact that you are aging, right? Pamela Anderson, on the other hand, she's a natural beauty, but she has accepted that she is aging.
Like Halle Berry?
Publicly. And she has not made herself into this archetype of a woman desperately clinging to her youth. Yeah. Because that's undignified. And I think what we really need to understand collectively is that you can gracefully transition from archetype to archetype throughout your life because different stages call for different things. It's like she said, there's a time and place for putting on the makeup.
This was just never a thing 25 years ago because you had a career at one time and then just didn't keep going. Like male actors and some of the women actors, I guess, would have long careers if they were really, really good. Look at like a Robert De Niro is like still acting and you're like, how are you even still alive, let alone still acting, like him and Pacino and stuff like that. But now moving beyond that, you don't just end up as a career as one thing anymore. You're not just an actor anymore. You're an actor, you're a social media personality, you're this, and that. So it's a natural byproduct of a career that can no longer allow them to just be one thing anymore.
Well, there was another example of this getting posted simultaneously with Pamela Anderson. Marissa Tomei is 60 years old, and she was posing in this video with a low-cut skirt, kicking her leg up in the air. Obviously, she does not look 60. No. That much needs not be said. She looks really good for 60. Like, I honestly would have guessed that she was like in her mid 30s.
Yeah, I just rewatched Spider-Man Civil War or Captain America Civil War recently, and all of the Aunt May jokes are very, very prevalent in that movie.
Yeah. So there were a lot of men going feral over this.
That's what they're doing. That's what so Harry Potter is taking the Captain America Civil War route for casting rather than the Harry Potter route for casting.
I'm looking at the replies and like the men are just like going feral like a wooga for this woman. And I don't know, maybe she has some anti-aging tips, but she doesn't have much insight anywhere else because on the other hand, Marissa Tomei has not had any children and she has openly said that she opposes marriage as an institution. So she is actually more so the archetype of the woman clinging on to being a maiden. Yeah. The ordinary transition of female archetypes is you start off as a maiden and then you become a mother and then you become a matriarch. Yeah. And you can gracefully transition from one to the next. But if you resist that, it is obvious to everyone that you are not embodying the correct archetype for your age. That seems to be what's happening here, and that's why people find it disturbing.
Yeah, I think conservatives on the face are going to have that natural kind of a more visceral reaction. The idea that she's clinging to youth, right? And that it's that it's synonymous with a bit of with being vacuous and a bit self-obsessed, and that there's going to be a shallowness to it. And I think what they tell themselves, or what people tell themselves, is that that means she's going to end up cold and alone, right? That's depending on how you view the world, and if you think that she's doing the wrong thing. Again, this is what I'm assuming that people in this space who have very traditional beliefs would think, is that by her making the mistake of not following the traditional path, she's going to end up cold and alone. But let's face it, life is very, very busy and noisy now, and there's actresses working into their 80s and 90s 90s that are doing plenty fine and keep their lives plenty busy. I think it's a cope to think that she would end up completely alone with nothing to that's what I feel like a lot of them think is going to happen, is they're going to end up regretting their choices.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a solid argument to be made that that's not going to be true of all of them, especially when as successful as she is.
But you also can't meaningfully regret
Yeah.
your choice if you don't know the alternative.
Yes. So maybe, at night when her head hits the pillow, she feels a little bit of regret sometimes, but life is busy, and I don't know if that's enough to really change things for her.
We have a 20 from Carnell. I'm under the impression that the vast majority of people online are expecting Pam Anderson to end up looking like her Baywatch co-star Donna D'Errico.
Yeah.
There is a clear distinction. Google her for reference.
Yes, Donna D'Errico,
mean?
she's very, very successful on OnlyFans now and does not look her age, looks much younger. And
well, I'm glad that Pam Anderson isn't on OnlyFans. That would be highly undignified. But what you were saying about Marissa Tomei is true. I will totally grant that she looks incredible for 60, and once again, like, I would kill to look that good at her age. But this says, in a 2009 interview, Marissa Tomei stated she is not a fan of marriage as an institution and doesn't understand why women need to have children to be seen as complete human beings.
Their focus there is always on how they're seen rather than how she feels about it. Like, if she had said, I don't understand why women feel the innate need to have children to feel like complete human beings, that's a more prescient question than how you're perceived.
Right. Yeah, you shouldn't have children just to be seen a certain way.
You should do it because it's something you truly want.
Do it to love your children. Yeah, and then a friend also said that she never truly pursued marriage or having children, even in her 20s, and that work has really been her life force. She has been in a long-term relationship but has never had children, and that is her choice. It's not reversible now. Again, you can't meaningfully regret making a choice like that if you would never know what it would be like in the circumstance that you did have children. You don't know what it's like to be a parent until you are one.
I do think that a lot of times we hear more often than not that I think Tim covered a video the other week about he talked about some lady who she became a lawyer, and she literally just did it because somebody told her that she was never going to be able to. So she did, and now she does TEDx talks about how it was the worst decision she ever made, and she regrets it, and she regrets not having a family and all that stuff. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of examples like that, but there's also going to be the examples of the ones who just never thought that way, was successful enough where the doubts may only creep in at night once in a while, but this is the one of the most pressing questions of the time now, is like, where does the regret actually kick in for somebody like that? Because even if she is, she's not going to admit it. Like, very likely not going to admit it. So
right.
I guess as a dude, I just, my natural instinct is to just, I don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to worry tonight about whether Marissa Tomei regrets her life decisions.
I don't think I will either.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
not because you're a dude. It's because you don't know her.
But I'm saying, like these, it's a point of our job to talk about it. But whatever choices she made, I'm going to just say, I hope she made the one that makes her the happiest, and go on with my day.
Yeah, fair enough.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media, and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.